Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. What a dramatic weekend it was in Waco, Texas, as somehow the Cowgirls figured out a way to win 2 out of 3 from the Lady Bears. It was a hotly contested weekend, all weekend long of softball. Just a lot of fun to watch. So we have a lot to talk about on today's podcast. So let's not waste more time. Let's get right to it, and let's talk Cowgirl softball. Friday night started out, no doubt, as a pitcher's duel as Lexi Kilfoyl was wheeling and dealing. She had the right turning off speed. She had the high velo that she normally does. For Baylor, Aliyah Binford was also wheeling and dealing, and it was like one of those deals to where as it got later into the game, you're thinking, well, the first team to score, maybe the only team to score. So when Baylor scored in the 5th inning, I will say this, the Lady Cowgirls, they are simply awesome. They can hit, they can pitch, they have depth. They have a chance to win a national title this year, no doubt. I will say this, if there's one thing that I think they probably need to clean up if they want to become a national title contender, probably have to play a little bit better defense. Another error, we saw that against Wichita State too. An error in the 5th inning led to a run for Baylor, and the Cowgirls, they didn't answer in the 6th, which, hey, usually if you're going to win a game like that, as soon as somebody scores, you go ahead and you answer that next inning. The Cowgirls did not do that, so that was worrisome for me. Went into the 7th inning, trailing 1-0, and then that's when the Cowgirls finally figured out a way to scratch. We've talked about Rosie Davis many times this year, how clutch she has been. She had another clutch at bat for the Cowgirls. She led the 7th inning off with a walk, and then from there, the Cowgirls got they actually pinch ran Tia Warsop, which came up huge because Tia Warsop is a great base runner, and she is very, very, very fast. Jillian Pollard had a really nice walk. She drew a walk, and then Megan Bloodworth, who was in the middle of all the action all weekend, hit a ground ball as Tia Warsop was at second base, and Tia Warsop, with her speed and just being so intelligent and so aware, she actually scored from second base on a ground out. The first baseman for Baylor kind of hesitated. Never dawned on her that Tia Warsop would go home from second base like she did. And the Lady Cowgirls, they tied the game in the 7th inning. Lexi Kilfoyl, who threw all 8 innings, she shut the Baylor Bears down in the bottom of 7. That gave the Cowgirls time enough to put their rally together in the top of the 8th, and it started when Talon Edwards, who had a really, really nice night on the night for the Lady Cowgirls, multiple hits for her. She got a single to right field, and then how about it, Claire Timm? I've talked many different times about Claire Timm, how she does such a great job hitting the ball up the middle. Not this time. How about a home run to give the Cowgirls a 2-run lead, which in the end, that was all they were going to need. Carly Godwin walked, which Carly Godwin, wow, she was just simply amazing. We're going to get into some of the individual nights that they had here in just a second, but what a night for her. And then the Cowgirls added another run when Rosie Davis, we talked about her drawing the walk and being so clutch. She's always in the middle of the offensive action. She singled to give the Cowgirls a 3-run lead at 4-1. And that was all they were going to need. How about the individual action for the Cowgirls on the night? We mentioned Talon Edwards had a great evening on Friday. She went 3 for 4, and she had the big hit to get the rally started there that we just mentioned. Carly Godwin went 3 for 3. At this point, she was like 15 for her last 20, and hey, she pulled one down the line. She spiked one into left center in the gap. She hit one up the middle. She uses the entire field. Just had a tremendous game. All in all, 8 hits for the Cowgirls. They did have 10 strikeouts to just 3 walks, which is why it was such a close game, one of the reasons. But it was a great game on Friday. The Cowgirls got off to a great start. Hey, when you're in a 3-game series, always want to win that first one because now all you got to do is win 1 out of 2 of the last 2 games. Typically speaking, if you're fairly equal teams, those last 2 are going to get split, which is what happened, and at that point, you win 2 out of 3. Saturday, not going to lie about it, Ivy Rosenberry got the start. She did a good job, and she pitched. Actually, she moved her record to 5-1. She did a good job on the day. Her and Kyra Aycock teamed up together to give the Cowgirls. Ivy Rosenberry actually threw an inning and a third because the Cowgirls knew, Coach Gajewski knew, they were going to need her on Sunday. Kyra Aycock actually got the brunt of the work, and Aycock actually went scoreless in her 4 2/3 innings. Did simply a fantastic job. She had a strikeout on the day, and Ivy Rosenberry, who got the loss in the game on Saturday, moved to 5-1, and on the day gave up 2 earned runs in her 1 1/3 innings. Only 1 hit for the offense for the Cowgirls on Saturday. So simply put, after the exciting game on Friday, Saturday was a dud, no doubt about it. And then that moved us into Sunday. On Sunday, Ivy Rosenberry got the ball in the circle, and she did a good job. Gave the Cowgirls a solid 3 innings and gave up just 1 earned run. And that allowed the Cowgirls to turn the ball back over to Lexi Kilfoyl, who went the entire 8 innings. On Friday, Kilfoyl finished the last 4 innings for the Cowgirls. And this was kind of a carbon copy of Friday. Baylor got ahead in the 3rd inning. They scored a single run. Cowgirls didn't respond to that. Baylor scored another single run in the 5th. So the Cowgirls went into the 6th inning down 2-0. And that's when they were able to scratch and get back in the game, where the Cowgirls, they drew a walk. And then how about that sweet bunt from Jillian Pollard? The bunt that actually ended up being a single for her. That was just simply very skillful bunt. Fantastic for her. And then Hayden Sokolowski advanced to second base as Sokolowski pinch ran for Jillian Pollard on a wild pitch. And from there, Talon Edwards reached on a fielder's choice. That drove in the first run. It was 2-1. At that point, lady, remember the Cowgirls, they actually had second and third and 1 out, and it looked like they're going to have a chance to tie the game down 2-0. Next thing you know, they got a runner thrown out trying to advance to home plate to tie the game. Then they had the second runner get picked back at third base. So what looked like a rally the Cowgirls could tie the game with actually ended up with just 1 run. And you're like, oh my gosh, as hard as it's been for the Cowgirls to score runs, you can't squander a rally like that. So it was really worrisome going into the 7th inning. But hey, it was a great job of Lexi Kilfoyl. One thing you have to do when you score, if you're trying to make a comeback, after you score, your pitcher has to throw up some blanks and has to throw up some zeros. That's exactly what Lexi Kilfoyl did in the bottom of the 6th inning. Top of the 7th, Caroline Wong. How about that double she hooked down the left field line? When she hit that, it was like a dream. It was like, oh my gosh, thank God we had to have that leadoff double. And then from there, Rosie Davis grounded out to first base. Great job. Got the runner advanced to third base. And at that point, you're thinking, okay, all you got to do is put the ball in play to score this run. Michaela Wark grounded out to the second baseman. That tied the game right there. And then Tia Warsop, another bunt single for her. That girl can flat fly. She knows how to run the bases. After she got the bunt base hit, how about generating a run here? She stole second base, and then Megan Bloodworth came through and got the game-winning run for the Cowgirls. Drove in Tia Warsop, and that was all the Cowgirls were going to need as Lexi Kilfoyl went the rest of the distance, shut down the Baylor Bears in the bottom of the 7th inning, and the Cowgirls had somehow figured out a way to win 2 out of 3 in Waco and defeat the Baylor Bears to go 2-1 to start the Big 12 season. How incredible was this outing from Lexi Kilfoyl? How about this? On Friday, I should say, she worked all 8 innings. I mentioned that. She gave up no earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Her off speed was turning right. It was simply fantastic. She made big pitch after big pitch, and Lexi Kilfoyl on the season continues to have her ERA under 1. So does Ivy Rosenberry. So the Cowgirls are very, very good in the circle, no doubt about that. Carly Godwin, she had 3 hits on Friday, and I mentioned that she just uses the entire part of the field. That was her 2nd consecutive 3-hit game in a row. And at that point on Friday, she had hits in 6 games in a row, and she had hits in 14 of her last 15. She was 6 for her last 7 at that point, and 7 for her last 10, or 6 for her last 7, and 10 for her last 15 going into the Saturday game. So Carly Godwin had simply been a fantastic offensive player. Claire Timm got the huge home run, showing her versatility in her offensive game and how she can, I mentioned, like I said earlier, how she hits the ball up the middle quite a bit, but then also how she hit a home run there. Hey, how about the catch by Talon Edwards? Not only was she an offensive player, she did a great job from her defensive spot at third base. Coach Gajewski also had a big challenge where he challenged a runner leaving early at first base on a steal. That was a big deal too. So, hey, there was a lot of big decisions to make, a lot of big plays to be made. I will say this, I'll say it again, that if the Cowgirls, I think, want to win a national title, they probably need to clean up their defense. They did make 2 errors on Friday night in 1 inning. We've seen that from them before. That led to a run that not every time, I know it was fun coming back and all that. You're not going to be able to do that every time against really great teams. So I would like to see the Cowgirls clean up that defense. I'm sure Coach Gajewski and the crew's way more aware of that than I am, so they'll get to work on that and get that figured out. How about the crazy 6th inning for the Cowgirls on Sunday? Started with a leadoff walk. We mentioned it. Jillian Pillard laid down a sweet bunt. Then you had a wild pitch, and then a runner got thrown out the plate on a ground ball. You had a back pick at third, settled for 1, and that set up the 7th inning with Megan Bloodworth, who got the big hit. And then, like we said, Lexi Kilfoyl ended up finishing that game. So, hey, it was super exciting for the Cowgirls this weekend. Cowgirls are in action again on Wednesday. That's the next time that you will see the Cowgirls. That is at Cowgirl Stadium. Come out and support the ladies as they take on the University of Central Arkansas Lady Bears. They're going to play the Lady Bears again. That's going to be the 4th game in a row. This last weekend was the Baylor Lady Bears. This Wednesday, I should say, is going to be the University of Central Arkansas Lady Bears. And then this weekend, the next Big 12 series, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series in Stillwater. So another homestand. Then you go to Tulsa. So you have right here, you have 5 games in the state of Oklahoma, 4 in Stillwater. Make sure and get out and check out some great Cowgirl softball. But the Cowgirls host the UCF Lady Knights this weekend. So make sure and get out on Wednesday. Check out the Cowgirls as they take on UCA. And then next weekend as they take on the Lady Knights. So until next time, until we have our next podcast, and hopefully talking about a big Cowgirl win over the UCA Lady Bears, I would like to thank you for tuning in and say, go Cowgirls!